The restaurant was full of laughter, clinking glasses, and the smell of expensive food. Everyone seemed happy. Everyone seemed rich. And then there was Thomas, a millionaire, sitting alone at the corner table. In front of him, steaming plates of food, golden wine, fresh bread. The kind of meal most people only dream about. But he didn't even touch it. His eyes stayed on his phone. His face was blank. His heart was empty. He had money. He had power. He had everything. And yet, he felt nothing. Have you ever had everything you wanted, and still felt nothing? That was Thomas tonight. A man surrounded by luxury, but drowning in silence. And while he sat inside, bored with a life others would beg for, someone else was standing outside. A little girl, barefoot, hungry, staring through the glass with desperate eyes. Her stomach growled. Her tiny hands clutched her torn dress. She didn't belong in that world of chandeliers and silver plates, but she couldn't look away. Outside those shining gates, in the cold night air, stood a little girl named Isla. She was only 7. Her dress was torn, her tiny feet bare, her skin marked with dust. For more than an hour, she had been standing there, watching. She saw plates of food carried in, dishes of food carried out, and not a single bite for her. Her stomach growled so loud she pressed her hands against it, as if that could make the pain stop. She hoped someone, anyone, might notice her. But no one did. A waiter carrying half-eaten food walked past. Her eyes lit up. Maybe, just maybe, she could have a piece. She crept forward slowly. "Stop right there, girl," the waiter barked, his voice sharp like a whip. "Don't touch that. Street kids don't belong here." Isla flinched, stepping back quickly, tears filling her eyes. She wasn't trying to cause trouble. She was just hungry. But sometimes, hunger is stronger than fear. Through the open doors, she spotted a man in a navy suit. He sat at a corner table, completely alone. In front of him were plates of untouched food, bread rolls, roasted chicken, even a small chocolate tart. Her mouth watered. Her heart pounded. And then she whispered to herself, "Just ask. Just once." She gathered every ounce of courage, stepped barefoot onto the patio, and walked straight toward him. Gasps filled the restaurant. Guests turned in shock. The waiter rushed forward to drag her out. But before anyone could stop her, Isla looked up at the man, her big brown eyes trembling with hope, and said softly, "Can I eat with you?" The moment those 5 words left Isla's lips, the entire restaurant froze. Gasps rippled through the tables. Forks stopped in midair. Whispered voices spread like fire. Where did she come from? Who let her in here? This is unacceptable. The waiter stormed forward, his polished shoes clicking angrily across the floor. His hand reached for Isla's arm. "Little girl, you don't belong here. Out, now!" But Isla didn't move. She held her ground, her small body shaking, her eyes locked on the man in the navy suit. Her voice cracked, almost breaking, but she forced the words out. "Please, I haven't eaten in 2 days." The whispers grew louder. Some diners rolled their eyes. Others looked away in guilt. But no one spoke up for her. No one but Isla herself. Imagine the courage it takes for a child to ask a stranger for food. The waiter glared at Thomas, the man at the table. "Sir, do you want me to remove her?" Silence fell. Every eye in the room turned toward him. The millionaire, the only one who could decide her fate. Would he look away, like everyone else? Or would he do something no one expected? Thomas didn't answer right away. He just stared at the little girl standing in front of him, her cheeks hollow, her lips trembling, her eyes begging for something as simple as food. And in that moment, something inside him shifted. Memories he had buried deep came rushing back. Cold nights, empty stomach, standing outside bakeries as a boy, hoping someone might hand him a crust of bread. No one ever did. He knew exactly what hunger felt like. He knew exactly what loneliness felt like. The waiter's voice cut through the silence. "Sir, should I call security?" Thomas blinked, snapping out of the memory. His chair scraped loudly against the floor as he stood up. Every head turned toward him. The waiter froze, shocked. "Bring her a plate," Thomas said firmly. The waiter stammered. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Thomas repeated, his voice louder this time. "Bring her the best you have. And make it quick." The entire restaurant fell into stunned silence. Diners who had been whispering now sat frozen, their mouths open. One decision had silenced an entire room. Isla's big brown eyes widened. She clutched her torn dress, her voice barely a whisper. "Really?" Tears gathered and spilled down her cheeks. Thomas slowly knelt down so he was eye level with her. His tone softened. "Yes, sit with me. Tonight, you're my guest." Gasps echoed around the room. A millionaire, inviting a homeless child to his table. No one could believe what they were seeing. But Isla believed, and for the first time in days, hope filled her eyes. A waiter hurried back with a basket of warm bread. He set it down on the table with a nervous glance, as if afraid of being judged too. Isla reached out carefully, her tiny fingers shaking as she picked up a roll. She held it for a moment, staring at it like it wasn't real. Then she took a small bite. The soft, warm bread melted in her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink them away, but they rolled down her cheeks anyway. For the first time in days, her stomach didn't hurt. For the first time in days, someone cared. Across the restaurant, the whispers began again. "This is disgraceful. A millionaire eating with a beggar child? Unbelievable." But not everyone was angry. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others shifted uncomfortably in their seats, guilt tightening their throats. The richest room in the city silenced by a hungry child. Thomas watched Isla chew slowly, clutching the bread with both hands as though someone might take it away. Something broke inside him. He had sat in this restaurant countless times, surrounded by wealth. Yet tonight, he finally saw the truth. He turned his head, his voice rising, strong enough for every table to hear. "You're all staring," he said. "Maybe instead of judging her, you should ask yourselves one thing. Why did a 7-year-old have to beg for food in the first place?" The whispers stopped. Forks froze. Glasses stilled. Every eye was on him, and not a single person could answer. Isla wiped her face with the back of her hand, trying to be brave. Between small bites, she whispered, "My mama, she used to bake bread like this, before she went to heaven." Thomas's chest tightened. "And your dad?" he asked gently. Her little voice cracked. "He left after Mama died. Said I was too much trouble. Said someone else would take care of me." She stared down at her plate, her shoulders trembling. But no one did. The room fell silent. Forks lowered. Glasses were set down quietly. A few guests dabbed at their eyes with napkins. Even the stern-faced manager, who had been storming toward Thomas, stopped dead in his tracks. Thomas reached across the table and held Isla's tiny hand. His own voice broke as he said, "Listen to me. You are not too much trouble. You are a child. You deserve love. You deserve care." Sometimes the smallest voice carries the biggest truth. He looked up at the crowd, his words echoing through the restaurant. "She's 7 years old. 7. And she's been wandering the streets alone while the rest of us sit here wasting food we don't even finish." No one dared to speak. Some lowered their heads in shame. Others couldn't hold back tears. Thomas turned back to Isla, his grip firm, his voice steady now. "You'll never beg again. Not ever. From tonight, you're coming with me." Isla's eyes widened, her lips trembling as if she couldn't believe what she'd just heard. For the first time in her life, She felt chosen. Isla couldn't hold back anymore. She jumped off her chair and wrapped her tiny arms around Thomas. Her body shook as she cried into his chest. "Please don't send me away," she sobbed. "I'll be good. I promise I'll be good." Thomas bent down, holding her tight, his own voice breaking. "You don't have to promise me anything, sweetheart. You're already good. You don't have to prove a thing." For a moment, the entire restaurant was frozen. The same people who whispered and judged before now sat silently. Some lowered their eyes in shame. Others wiped away tears they didn't want anyone to see. Compassion is richer than any fortune. Thomas stood up slowly, lifting Isla into his arms. She buried her face against his shoulder, clutching his suit as if she was afraid he might disappear. He looked around at the room full of wealthy diners, his voice calm but strong. "She doesn't just deserve a plate of food," he said. "She deserves a life." And in that single moment, the richest room in the city finally understood what real wealth looked like. Thomas walked toward the doors, Isla still in his arms. The restaurant was silent. Not a single fork moved. Not a single word was spoken. Then something unexpected happened. One by one, the diners began to stand. They didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They just stood in quiet respect, watching a millionaire carry a homeless child out into the night. The same people who had judged her minutes ago now wiped tears from their eyes. Some bowed their heads. Some looked ashamed. At Thomas's table, a man quietly slipped a $100 bill under the plate with a note. "For her future." Sometimes kindness inspires others to act too. Outside, Thomas opened the door of his sleek black car. He set Isla gently in the seat and wrapped a soft blanket around her. She pulled it close, her tired little body finally at rest. She turned to him, her voice no louder than a whisper. "Are you rich?" Thomas looked at her, and for the first time in years, he smiled. "I thought I was," he said quietly. "But tonight, I finally feel rich for the very first time." Isla curled up under the blanket, her eyes heavy with sleep. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. She looked at Thomas with a soft smile and whispered, "You're the nicest person I've ever met." Thomas's throat tightened. His eyes glistened as he brushed a tear from his cheek. He leaned closer and said gently, "And you are the bravest little girl I've ever known." In a world obsessed with wealth, the real treasure is kindness. The car rolled quietly through the city streets, but inside that car was something far greater than money, far greater than power. It was a bond, a moment that proved kindness can change everything. And now I want to ask you, what would you do if a hungry child asked to share your table?